Hey everyone. Somebody requested a little while ago that I do a video on my Fremont Jack. This is the Northwoods Fremont Jack in OD micarta. And, well, it's a pretty good knife. A lot of people seem to like it. A lot of people gravitate towards it. In the knife community as a whole, a lot of people have started carrying traditional knives again. And a lot of the, no offense to older folks or anything, but older folks are like, yeah, back in my day we just called them pocket knives. I'm a younger guy myself, so this is pretty traditional for me. It's very different from what I usually carry. I usually carry just, you know, a modern folding knife. And there's advantages to both, but usually the modern folder outweighs the advantages of the traditional knife. Usually when people see this, they're not as afraid. Like when I pull this out in public to like cut open a box or something, or cut something down, people are like, oh, it's just a pocket knife, you know. Versus when, well, this is a little ridiculous, but when I pull like a Raja out, and this one like barely fits in frame, people get afraid. Or like, even when I'm just using like my DOC, people tend to be afraid of it. It's this big, scary, tactical, military thing, you know? But that's typically why I keep a traditional knife with me. People aren't afraid. I can use it in public without being as scary to them. Yeah. It's got a really good Warncliffe styled blade, or sheep's foot. I'm not too sure of the differences. It's in 1095 and it's got this pretty cool heat treat going on. And a little bit of patina that I've developed over time and just from use. Cutting things like, you know, apples or like an orange every once in a while. I like 1095. It patinas pretty well. And it shows wear a lot. So you see all this. On my Instagram, I have a couple of pictures from a while ago that show this really crazy rainbow patina. That was cool, but over time, it just darkens and darkens. That's also another reason why I like coated blades. It shows how much you use them. I mean, my Parrot 2 has just been absolutely used to hell and back. I use my blades. I like the way that they look worn. The only blade I've really kept in pristine condition are like some that I get in trade and I might not use as often because I prefer my other blades, but this is another traditional knife that I carried for a while. It's a number 47 Viper from Great Eastern Cutlery. A little bit dirty, but yeah. I like keeping the blade all shiny. And this is the Kershaw ET. This is one blade I'm just too afraid to use. It's got a crazy thin blade for like a tactical folder. And plus I don't like serrations as much. I mainly have this as a collector piece. Pretty much everything else I use though. But back to the Fremont Jack. It's a very nice knife. I've gotten surprisingly offers. Like, I'll put this up for trade every once in a while to see if I can get like a Tom's Choice or something like a little bit more special than this. And people will be like, "Oh, how much do you want for it?" Or, "Man, I really need that." And it's really up there. I mean, my knife is not the best of all the Fremont Jacks I've seen. Mine has a slight amount of play. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a very, very slight amount. I mean, it doesn't really matter as much. I mean, the traditional knives don't lock, and they really aren't supposed to be used that hard, but it's just something to note. Fit and finish on mine was not the best. Down here in the choil, or the sharpening choil, if it'll focus, it's very roughly cut, which in part is due to the heat treat that's been left on. And also, in the half stop position, everyone else's Fremont Jacks all land flush here, mine doesn't. There's still quite a bit of back spring hanging out, which I don't mind as much, which is the reason probably why I keep it. I mean, if I like it, I'm going to keep it and I'm going to use it. Speaking of using blades, when I got this, it was very dull. Another thing that I noticed with my Viper, it came very dull. I had to reprofile it and put my own edge on. See, I got a pretty good mirror edge going on. And 1095 strops up very easily. It takes a really good edge. And there's a lot of good stuff about 1095. Plus, I also like the pinned shield on there. I just love that little arrowhead. This and the bolsters tend to start to patina, but I usually end up polishing those along with the edge when it needs it. Some gunk on there still. I do use my knives. I do have a few accessories for it. I'll start off with the most basic one. This is one that you get from Knives Ship Free. Derek includes all of these with his Northwoods knives, I believe. But when it came to me, when it arrived in the mail, it's stuck in there. You have to like pinch it out. It's too much of a pain to use. It's really thick. It's well finished. He's got his little Knife Ship Free leather on there. It's bolted and it's stitched very well, but it's just not tall enough. Like on the inside, it's not tall enough to accommodate the Fremont Jack. However, something like my 47 Viper fits in there just fine, and plus there's also a lanyard hole on my Viper where it makes it significantly easier to pull out and use. But that's the first thing. The second thing, and probably the most used for this knife, is my little slipcase that I have. I made this all the crappy stitching work. I did all this. I took an old pair of Sperry shoes. They were pretty much destroyed, and I just cut the tongues out and I stitched them together. So I thought that was kind of cool. I keep a Sharpie in here, or I'll keep a Fisher Space Pen. They just fit perfectly in there next to my blade. And plus with the plastic, it won't scratch my back spring as much. Just throw that in there. It fits perfecly. It won't fall out too easily, but it's still easy to extract. So I made that. Yeah, that's the main thing that I carry. Next is a person on Instagram and Facebook. He makes these. This is a little, he calls them pocket caddies. I like to say pocket organizer. And this is the medium-sized pocket caddy from Hanks by Hank. He does all the stitching work, or the sewing machine, I think. But somebody pointed these out on Instagram, and I had to have one. But this can pretty much accommodate like pocket tools, flashlight, the small like AAA flashlights. Like here's my Prion 2. It fits in there very well. And you can also throw like what it's meant for. Like it's meant to hold things in your pockets, organized. It holds my Northwoods pretty well. It holds other traditional knives like my Viper, and it holds thinner Aloxes and Swiss Army knives. But yeah, it's pretty good. I highly recommend them. You should check them out. It's just Hanks by Hank. I'll show things like my pencil. Like there's enough for 2 pens or 2 pencils, things along that line. This is my pencil that I keep for school and stuff, and I'll just throw that in there, grab whatever my slip joint for that day is, and toss them in. Yeah, those are just some of the things I like about the Fremont Jack and some of the accessories. It's got a really good Warncliffe style blade. It's really good. I highly enjoy it. Yeah, they're pretty hard to find. If you can find one, I mean, you can just pick it up, and if you don't even like it, you can sell it like that. Like, there's no issue. There's so many people looking for them. It's just a great investment. I know if I need to sell these for some reason, I can sell this one no problem. But I don't really want to sell it. It's such a great knife. Made in the USA. Nothing on the other side, but yeah. It's a great knife. It's very pocketable. The micarta is very smooth. It fits in hand pretty well. One thing that I will note is when I pinch up here, I usually like the handle to be slightly larger at the end versus the top, so it just contours to your hand more. This doesn't really do that. It has the taper, so I feel like I'm missing something at the bottom when I'm cutting with it. But again, you're usually not cutting too hard, so it's not as bothersome. Something like this was actually much more desirable if you're going to be cutting a lot. You still have the Warncliffe blade and the larger handle. It's much more comfortable, plus you can do reverse grip, and it's just a overall better handle design. But I don't really use it that hard, so yeah. I should clean this up. Oh yeah, here's the centering on mine, if you can see that. It'll focus. There. Oh, another thing to note, it does have the long pull, which typically helps with deployment, but there's enough of the blade sticking out where you can just pinch it and pull it out. This is not a nail breaker by any stretch of the meaning of that word or whatever. It's very easy to pull. Like, if you're pulling up here, it's going to be a pain, but nobody does. And it's not even that bad up there. The pull for this knife, I'd probably say it's about like a good 5 out of 10. Something like Victorinox's I rate around 4, like not even, like 3. It's very easy to pull. But something like this, I'd rate that at a 7. It's a lot snappier. Some of the more limited edition Aloxes, like this one, are about 4 or 5, 4.5. So their tools aren't as bad, but usually the main blade's a little bit stiffer. Okay, one thing to note is that after the half stop position, it does get a slightly harder pull for some reason, but it's not that bad. Maybe just 0.5 more, so like 5.5. It's not bad at all. So yeah, that is the Northwoods Fremont Jack, what I think about it. It's a great knife. If you find one, you should pick one up. You should pick it up. It's just something great to have. Everyone likes them. You'll have no trouble selling it if you don't like it. Alright, thanks for watching.